So currently our inventory is not displaying, well, our actual inventory is just a bunch of placeholders. So let's fix that so that we can actually show what is in the inventory. So I'm gonna go to the inventory grid widget, here where we were doing build test slot. Let's rename this actually to just build. I'll do build grid, and we'll need some more information actually. We'll need I'll do a U property. It can be transient, F gameplay tag, container ID, U property, do int32 max slots, U property, transient, int32 columns, and the include this here. Great. Okay, so I'm just going to rename this build grid. Now to build the grid, I do need access to all these info. So I need to know what container I'm building, the amount of slot, the columns, and all that stuff. So in here, where I'm doing the init, I need a bit more information. So let's do a const f gameplay tag container ID. Let's do a const int32 in max slots, int32 in columns. Great. Let me just copy all this and paste that in here. Nice. Okay, so this now is container ID equals this max slot and the columns. Cool. Now where are we calling this function? We are calling this in the player inventory. Normally we should be calling it here. Yep. So we pass in the all of these. Great. So when we open the player inventory, it initializes the widget, which then gets the grid and try to initialize the grid, sending in all these info so we can create the grid. Nice. Let's close this and go to here. And now let's and keep this. That's all good. I don't need that anymore, and this can be the same. I'll just use, instead of the test, I can just replace this by the max slot, and this one can be replaced by the columns. Alright, this is just calculating the row and columns, so that's fine. No need to change anything here. Creating the widget, I think that's fine too. No need to change anything. Initializing the slot. Okay, let's go to that here. So in inventory slot, I need to add. I'm gonna add a just to a const f gameplay tag and in container ID. I will need that here also. Do this. Is that the best way of doing this? I think so. We'll go with this. Okay, yeah. So just need to pass in the container ID here. Yep. So we loop over the max slot, which should be 100. I set it to. So we're gonna loop 100 times and then create the widgets and then initialize every widget. Yeah. So we are creating 100 widget and initializing 100 widgets. Great. Now let's go to the actual widget. So that's fine, that should be good. Let me close this, we don't need this anymore. Now how about the widget? Okay, let's go here. Now every widget is going to have this function called, so init slot widget. Okay, and of course we're missing the gameplay tag in container ID. Yes, and I can also do container. Oh, I did not add it. Let me just add this here. EU property. Let's make it transient actually. Transient F gameplay tag container ID. You know what? These two, that can be transient too. Same for this. This is all runtime stuff. So it can be value all only used at runtime. Container ID in container. Alright. So now every slot is being initialized and we are getting the inventory UI manager, what container they belong to and what the slot indexed that we are representing. Good. I'm going to make a new function. Let's make a new function here. Let's do void refresh. So this function is going to be called to refresh the widget. And I'm going to do a set to default. Yeah. So refresh is going to, well, every time we need to refresh the visual of it, if we added an item in it or something, we can just refresh it. And set to default, I guess we'll use it if the widget is empty. I mean, if the slot is empty, we'll just set it to a default visual so that we don't see, just like right now we have it filled up with all these potion and stuff. Set to default, it's just going to set it to whatever we want the empty slot to look like. Yeah, we'll do that. So let's generate these. Okay, so let's do, I'm gonna use auto inventory. I'm actually going to need the inventory component, I think. Inventory component. We'll use the inventory UI manager, get inventory component. Need the include. Now, if the inventory component is not valid, then we can't set up the widget, the slot widget. So I'm just going to do set to default, whatever the default visual, whatever we want the default visual to be, and then return. Now I need access to the entry actually, because that will give me access to the item definition, which then I can use to get access to the icon that should be displayed. Yeah, but I don't think I have a function for that. So go to the inventory component. That's why I needed this access to it. And we'll do, let's do a function here. Do a const f inventory entry. Entry at slot gameplay tag. Here we go. And while I'm here, let me just add this too, because I know I'm gonna need this. The item database. Get item database just to return item database. There we go. We have it here. Yep. Let's implement this one. Should be simple. Right. So I need the entry at a given slot. So we'll do an if container ID is not valid, we return, but also if the slot indexed is not valid. And then we can loop, so we'll do an f inventory entry, loop through the inventory, and then do entry dot container has to match the container ID and the slot, and then do a return. Otherwise, we just return null. Great. Now I can close this. Don't need that anymore. Okay, now let's get the entry. So f inventory entry. Call this entry equals inventory component, find entry at slot, container ID and slot indexed. Great. Let's make sure that we do have an entry. Otherwise, we'll just set it to the default and then return. Alright, now that I have the entry, I'm gonna make a gameplay tag, item tag, entry, item tag. Let's get the tag of the item. Let's make sure that the tag is valid. If it's not, again, we'll just set everything to the default. So now that we have the tag, we can do const item database inventory component. Oh, wait, item database inventory component. Let's get the item database. Explaining because I'm missing this here. Okay, now I have the item database. Let's do const item definition. That's what I actually need. So definition will do equal item database. Is the item database valid first? If it is valid, item database get item definition by tag, passing in the item tag. Otherwise, definition is null pointer. Now, if we don't have a definition, set everything to the default and return. Yeah, I think that's it. And now we finally have access to the item definition. Let me go to my item definition. Where is that thing? Definition. All right. So I'm missing a couple of things here. So let's add a U property and do a U texture 2D. It'll do item icon. And what else? Add a rarity. So let's add some item rarity. Yeah, I would want to also know the item rarity, because I want to change the background of the item slot based on the rarity of the item. So what I'm gonna do is go to type here and add a new folder, and I'm gonna do item, and in that folder I'm gonna add a new file, call it it item types.h. We'll need an include for a core minimal, and we'll need the include for it this thing generated .h. Oops. And let's create an enum. So an enum, let's make it blueprint type. It's going to be a class item rarity. Let's do uint8. We'll do common, rare, epic, and let's say legendary. Okay, you can do whatever rarity you want. Oh, and that's missing here. Right, so let's close this, come back to here and add this that I just created. So include types item, include inventory types item, this thing. So now let's do a U property and do an E item rarity equals E item rarity. By default we'll do common. Nice. Let's close this. So now I'm going to do a, wait a minute, let me compile this because I need to see how I named my variable in the widget in the blueprint. Alright, let's go to the UI and the slot here and open this. Okay, so this is our inventory slot. So what do we have? We have a hover image, so that when we hover the slot with our mouse, we get the border thingy. You have the text, which actually I'm gonna rename to something like 1tt. Makes more sense. What else do I have? I have an item icon and a slot background image. Great. Oops. Okay. So this is what I have here. Okay, we'll work with that. So first thing first, let's do the background. So we'll do slot background. Oh, what am I doing? Let's go here first. So I need to bind to these things that I have in the blueprint, right? So let's do a U property, a meta equals bind. What is it? Bind optional. Say t object pointer U image, a slot background image. What's its name? I think that's a null pointer. What's the issue? Oh, wait. Object. Here we go. And this is gonna complain too. So let's do class U image. It's that. What else we had? U property bind optional object pointer for U image the item icon. Set that to null. Another U property bind optional again. A object pointer again. U text block that I changed to quantity text. That too was a to null pointer and or declare it here. Another U property, a T object point U image, the hover image, I think it was called, null pointer. Yep. And I did add the item rarity also, so I'm gonna need to set the background based on the rarity, right? So what I'm gonna do is to, let me add that here. Let's do U property, edit default only, blueprint read only category UI, and we'll do rarity. Yeah, and then we'll do an F slate brush common slot. Well, actually, all slot background brush, and that can be null pointer. It's not happy. Can't set that to null pointer. Never mind. All right. Property, same thing again. This time it's going to be the common. So for common item, so we'll call it common slot background brush. Another one. This one is going to be the F slate brush. Rare. You know what? What am I doing? You can just copy all of these things. Let me just copy these two and paste that here, and then just change this to, was it rare, epic, and there was another one actually. Oops, legendary. Alright, yeah, great. So now back to here. I can check if we have a slot background image. If we do, we'll do slot background image, set brush. I need to get the rarity. I need to get the rarity of the item from the item definition. Yeah, and then I need to set, oh, you know what? Let's think how I'm gonna do this. Let's make a new function. Yeah, let's make a new function. I'm gonna go here, and it can be, oh, doesn't really matter. We'll do that here. Fslate brush, get background rarity brush, and pass in an item, an item. Let's do the include. Don't forget the include. Let's implement this. Alright, all I want to do here is a switch rarity. We'll do common return, common this one, case rarity is rare. We'll do return the rare one, case the rarity is epic, epic, return, and then case for legendary will return the legendary one. And we do need a default also, so default return, nope, default. Alright, yeah, that should be good. That's all I need this to do. Cool. Okay, so now we can finally set this. So slot background image, set brush, get background image based on the rarity. Then we'll use the item definition. Do I not have the rarity from the item definition? Item rarity is called. And why is this complaining? UImage is incomplete. Don't forget to have this included. Okay, next, the item icon. So item icon, it's going to be, let's do the item icon, and then just to set visibility first to slate with self hit test invisible. So yeah, so this, it's not actually invisible, it says there visible but not hit testable. That's what we want. And then item icon, set the brush to actually set brush from texture. Yeah, can get the definition and item icon. Great. Next we'll do the quantity text. So we'll do quantity text, set visibility. I'm going to check the item definition, be stackable. If the item is stackable, then I'm gonna do slate and make it, I think this one is fine, visible but not hit testable. Yes, so this, and otherwise we'll do 8 hidden. So if the item is stackable, we'll show the amount. If it's not stackable, so the amount will always be 1, so we don't need to show it. But you can if you want, but I just don't want to show it. Let's do set text definition, be stackable text UI number. Otherwise we'll show f text get empty. Right, next is going to be the hover image. Actually, for this one, let's do set visibility to hidden. We don't have to worry about it because that one will only be shown when we hover our mouse over it. So we'll do hidden when we initialize the widget. Yeah, okay. And now the defaults. Yeah, so if slot image background, slot background image, you set brush default. If item icon, set visibility to hidden, you don't need to see it. Item icon, and set brush from texture, we'll do null pointer, no texture. If the slot is empty, no image in it. Quantity, same thing, we'll set the text to be invisible, so hidden, and set the text to empty. The hover image stuff we'll do, I don't even, do we actually need to set this? Whatever. We'll set this to hidden. Yeah. Right. So a slot is created and initialized, and first thing I want to do is to call refresh here. So our grid is going to create a bunch of these slots, right, and initialize all of them. So this will be called 100 times, since I have 100 slot in my inventory right now. So every time it's called, every widget will have this call, this refresh called, and then it's just going to initialize everything. If there is no item at this slot, it's just going to use the default. I think that should be working, hopefully. What did I forget? Oh yeah, one thing, since we are using slate, where is it, where did I put that thing? Since we are using the slate brush stuff, we need to go to the thing here and add slate and slate call. Yeah, this is needed. Oh, here. Well, I don't need that. I need slate and slate call. And well, let's compile and test it, I guess. We'll see. Do I get any errors? Okay, it compiled with no errors. Nice. Okay, the first thing I'm gonna do is go to data folder here where I have my item database, open potion. Need to set an icon for it. Give my potion an icon. It's common, can be stacked up to 10. Alright, save this. That's the first thing. Now here, if I go to my graph and find UI, now I have rarity, which I don't have set. For the default, I'm just going to change the tint here to black. Alright, and then we'll need some material to use for the background. So let's do that, I guess. We'll make some materials. So let me go to content, asset, materials here. And let's create a new one. So let's find material. So I'm gonna create a new material here and call it M. Rarity. Oh, and you don't have to do this, by the way. You can use any image that you want for the background. And I'm not actually going to complicate this either. So let's do, so the first thing to do is to change this to user interface and change this to translucent. Alright, and that's going to be my common. Okay, we'll try to keep this simple. Nothing complicated here. I'm just going to right click on this, promote to a parameter, and just change the color to something like a grayish color, maybe a bit darker. Here, that's gonna be my common. And then opacity here, same thing. Let's promote to a variable. Just gonna leave it at 1 actually. Alright, very simple. Let's close this and then create a material instance from it. Call it mi. I'm gonna call it common and just make a copy of it, I guess. This one is gonna be called rare. For rare, I'm gonna use whatever color that you want. Click final color here and change that to blue. Alright, and make a copy of this one. This one's gonna be epic. Change that to something like this. Alright, and another one. We'll do some kind of orange. Yep, there we go. Great. So now back to the inventory slot here. In the UI here, common. We'll change that. We'll use this. We'll use the rare. And legendary here. Alright, great. And that should be it. Just save everything. And now we should be able to test this now. So if I press play and open the inventory, well, good. So now it looks empty because it is empty. So that's good. And if I try to add an item, so if I press 1, well, it doesn't get updated. We haven't implemented that yet. But if I close and reopen the inventory, oh, as you can see, now I have an item. If I do 1 again and then reopen it, yeah, it's working. So if I press 1 a couple of times and then reopen it, yep, it's working. Now if I try to remove a couple of items, so if I press 2 a couple of times, it works. Nice. Now I noticed that the background is not working because it's not using my material. It's not using my material because it's supposed to be gray. So let's see what's going on here. So slot background, oh, I think I know. It's this thing here. So I select the slot background and then put this back to the default. Let's see, add a couple of items. Yeah, now it's working. Now it's working, and to be sure that it's working, we can just go to the data, potion, change it to something like this. I'll do epic. Let's see if it changes. add a couple of potion and then press. Oh, look at that, works. Nice. So everything is working, it seems. Yep, everything is indeed working. All right, that was a long one. All right, like, comment, subscribe, blah blah blah, and see you in the next one.